Hey everyone, got an interesting episode here for you today. We just got done having a conversation, Sue and I, with Nicole Cherie Hesse. Now, Nicole is not an SEO expert, but she's going to bring some amazing insights, some great tips. She's impacted our philosophy, our mindset here at Intrix and Local SEO Tactics, and myself personally. And we wanted to get her on the show to bring that message to you. And hopefully you're going to enjoy this. There's some marketing, business, managing mindset stuff in here. Not any SEO tips in this episode, but stay tuned. I think you're going to love this one. Welcome back to Local SEO Tactics, where we bring you tips and tricks to get found online. I'm your host, Jesse Dolan, joined by Sue Ginsberg. And Sue, we got a special guest here today, Nicole Cherie Hesse. Yes, we do. And Nicole, I got to see you in person at SEO Spring Training in Arizona a few months ago. And for everybody listening, this isn't going to be an episode packed with SEO tips and tricks. That's not Nicole's game, but the message you delivered, Nicole, in Arizona was spectacular, and I think it really resonates with pretty much everybody in our industry, or that's just grinding it out there. So I'm excited for you to come on. Who is Nicole? You can find her nonstopnotifications.com. Check out her Facebook group, which, correct me if I get all this right, Nicole, Unicorn Client Attraction Secrets for High Vibe Wonder Women. And yeah, she's been featured in NBC, Forbes, Yahoo Finance, CBS, Fox, other publications, podcasts. Just Google her. You can go to our show page after this, get her full name, copy and paste it. She's out there, been crushing it, grew her business, her current business, into and past 7 figures within 13 months. Great secrets and tricks here for attracting money, right? If I can just sum it up into that, I think. And yeah, let's get rocking, Nicole. Thanks for coming on, taking some time out of your schedule for us. Appreciate that.
Jesse, Sue, so great to be here. I know that in SEO land, I want to give the precursor to everybody is that I don't know anything about SEO. So if you're looking for SEO tips from me, please don't. I had to Google what those letters stood for, so that's not my gig. But I've actually worked with a lot of people in the SEO space to help them to elevate their money mindset, to help them to close clients using organic methodologies that really help you to retain high-level clients and make that money, getting into that money kind of energy. Because I know that in SEO world, you guys work long hours and you do a lot of hard work that sometimes isn't really monetized as effectively as it could be. So I've worked with some really great people in the SEO spectrum to help them to actualize their worth and to really be able to scale their businesses from the inside out.
Let's dig into that. Sue, I'm going to let you fire off a question here to Nicole in a second. But I do want to say, for what you're talking there, Nicole, I remember doing your presentation, you talked to everybody in the room. And it was a convention, a seminar, a mastermind type event, multi-day deal. And myself, I was coming from Minnesota down to Arizona. It was great, nice and warm, whatever. And you made a point, I'm summarizing, but basically like, who's here on vacation? Like, no, you're working. This is, you're grinding it right now. And if you're thinking this is a vacation for you, you've got the wrong mindset, right? And then a lot of your message really revolves around mindset. But I thought that was such a powerful statement because we go to these things, some people monthly, some people quarterly, yearly, whatever, and you act like it's a getaway and a vacation, but you're there to learn, you're there to work, and then bring all that back to your business, and then maybe take an actual vacation at some other point and not do anything related to your business. A lot of people in this industry or in marketing in general, in business in general, just don't see it that way. And I thought that was super refreshing. And that's when you hooked me right there. I thought that was amazing. So that's kind of stuff we're going to be getting into. Sue, do you have something you want to fire at Nicole to get the conversation going?
Sure. I'd love to ask you, many businesses start from negative experiences that the business owner has had that then they have an aha moment or then they realize, oh, this was the way I should have been doing it. How did you get to where you are now? You've done a lot of different things before this, and seems like you've arrived at you're in the zone and doing what you love to do and helping others. How'd you get there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in life experience in general, and that everything that we go through in our lives, it's going to serve in one way and limit in another, and help us to become and shape our personality and who we are, and really how we best serve others in our lives, and like creating that kind of fulfillment. And so for me, I'm 38. Am I 38 or 39? It's like you like start to lose track at some point. I'm in my late 30s ish. And it took me some time to figure this out. I wanted to be a lawyer when I was a kid, and I didn't go to law school, much to my mother's dismay. I became a bartender. And I was a really good bartender. I ran the Bartenders Guild for 7 years. I traveled all over the world, did international cocktail competitions. I became a bar consultant for $1 billion company when I was 24 years old. And so I had a lot of success in that industry. But as you probably can realize, that the bar industry is pretty brutal, right? It's a lot of drinking, a lot of partying, a lot of self sabotage, to put it lightly, but all sorts of colorful stories from the bar industry. But the long and the short of this is that I was really depressed. I was in a lot of anxiety all the time. I worked 90 hours a week, running 3 bars at a time, and I was doing really well financially. For bartenders, I was making between $10,000 and $12,000 a month, and as a bartender, that's insane. I was definitely like top of the game. But at what cost, right? Like I didn't get to spend time with my kids. It eventually tore my marriage apart. And, I was drinking all of the time because I always had a valid reason to drink. I was always at a party. I was always doing some event. And so it was just my whole life. And I realized at some point that like, there has to be more, right? There has to be more to life than this. And I had 2 suicide attempts, and really gave up probably about 10 years of my life to just suffering and being in that mental state. And I kind of had this epiphany that didn't come after a DUI. It wasn't anything that dramatic, but I was driving home from somewhere, Sue, that I never should have been, doing something I never should have been doing. A very regrettable day in all of the words. And I had this voice come into my head as I was driving, because it was like, I can't do this anymore. And, I normally have had that thought, and it kind of led down the suicidal spiral and the, like, so kill yourself kind of feel like, and that was normally where it led. But this time I had said that patterned thing, like, I can't do this anymore. And this voice that I now know to be my higher self, my future self, came through and just said, so don't. And it was like, that had never occurred to me that I could just change. Right. And that was the day that I stopped drinking. I never drank again. It's been almost 5 years since I've drank. And, from that space of really having to feel my feelings for the first time, because I couldn't just numb them out, but having to feel them and having to build healthy coping mechanisms, things in my life shifted very dramatically, very quickly. I got fired from 2 bar jobs. In the same month, which at the time felt devastating. But in retrospect, it's that whole thing of a door closing and a window opening, and that was the big shift for me, is that as I got sober, got fired, attracted a really great man, built an incredible marriage. The next thing that I did was build a 7-figure business, and I built it very, very quickly because I built it from a place of fulfillment.
Mindset, right? At the end of the day. So I really like how you said you realized and then decided. I'm summarizing, like, extremely important moment in your life. You just decided to change, right? And realized that you could change, and you had that ability, that choice, whether you're putting together a marketing plan or the severe situation that you were dealing with that day, right? I think that's awesome for everybody to always remember, is you're in control of whatever you do next, the very next thing, right? Whether that's good or bad. Love that. Absolutely love that. What, you're probably not going to give us any more of that backstory, are you, on that day? Any nuggets?
I'll give you as much as you want. How long do you have, Jesse? I'll give you all the deep dive secrets.
Like you said on the front side, and everybody listening too, if you've listened to Nicole on her podcast or anything else too, we asked her to keep it clean on this. So I won't go into that story for fear of where we may go. And hopefully we don't have to edit out anything out of this episode. If you hear any beeps going forward, you know what's happening. So I digress though, Sue. Where did you want to go? Yeah.
I was going to say on that topic, you have some really great messages through your podcasts and your other channels. And because of your style, I'll call it. I think that you have a very divisive style, and there are many who love you and many others who won't listen to you. How do you Did you know that going in? Did you weigh that out, or is that just like, well, that's their loss. This is who I am, and this is how I'm going to do it? I mean, was it intuitive or strategic? How did that come about, and how do you feel about that?
Well, Sue, I was a bar consultant for 15 years before I did this. So I came to the table with some very real marketing experience because, quite honestly, running an online business is nothing compared to running a bar. Absolutely nothing. A bar is so much harder, so much more challenging. And of course, there's so much more skin in the game. I mean, we're spending sometimes upwards of $250,000 for the liquor license alone, let alone the property and the booze and the staff and all of the expenses that you have to run. And so, in learning how to effectively build up bars, one of the bars that I built, so you'll get a kick out of this. One of my most successful consulting projects was actually, okay, let me make sure I say it right. It was a bar inside of a casino that was inside of a truck stop. Okay, so I want you to imagine what this looks like a little bit. Okay. And the kind of clientele that comes to this place, right? Okay. So I decided that we were going to do a craft cocktail bar inside of this. So that meant high-end whiskey, it meant high-end cocktails, it meant froofy glasses, right? And everybody told me I was crazy. They said, this will never work. Truckers only drink Jack and Coke. And I said, that is 100% not true. This is a novelty item that is going to set us apart, and we are going to do something absolutely prolific. I took that bar from making $15,000 a week to making $150,000 a week because I was willing to do something unpopular, something that other people didn't believe in, something that other people told me would never work. That's my favorite thing. Tell me it won't work because I will figure out a way to change your mind, right? And I built that bar from the prolific angle. We all know, like as business owners, that there's no money in mainstream and there's no money in the crazy zone. It's getting into the prolific that allows you to catapult yourself into a different kind of frequency where you interrupt the pattern. I could have chose to be like one of those coaches. I call them 10K bobblehead coaches, where they're all the same. They have pink, white, and taupe Facebook banners. All their Facebook groups are named the same thing. They talk about the templates and the 6 easy ways to make $10,000 for Christmas. I could have been that person. And I would have gone on to make $10,000 a month like everybody else. But I made a different decision. I said, I'm going to be my true self unapologetically because for the first time in my life, I have no leash. I don't have somebody that I'm consulting for. I don't have an owner that I need to placate. I get to be me and I get to do these things that are crazy. There was not a coach on the market that encouraged me to use the language and the vernacular that I use. But as you can hear in this interview, I don't do that because I can't articulate without it. I do it for a reason, right? I have an intention behind swearing. I have an intention behind the stories that I tell. And that is to give people permission to be their true selves unapologetically, to be bold, to really say what they're thinking, and especially as women, because oftentimes as women, we're told to be seen and not heard. We're told to be in the space of being what other people want us to be. Most of us spend our whole life trying to be what other people want us to be. I changed that in my life. And so that's part of my core brand message is to be unapologetic. And so if I'm really, really unapologetic, Sue, that makes you feel safe to do something that's a little bit bold for you, right?
It's fantastic. I love that. I absolutely love that. You said you had kids. How old are your kids?
I have an 18-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter.
Well, great role model for both of those as you have been going through this and having at some point in their life discussions with them about words that they shouldn't use speaking to their grandmother or their teachers and words that are okay. How have those conversations gone, and how do you separate what's okay for kids to say versus what's okay for somebody running a business to say?
Oh, Sue, you're not going to like this one. For me, I don't believe in censorship. Have been in the swearing context around my children their entire lives. Full transparency here. I grew up in an entrepreneurial house. My mom actually owned the trash company. We're real Italians, so we own the trash company here in Reno, Nevada, and she was, I mean, a female business owner in an industry with no women, right? And so it was very tough. It was very crass. I grew up around truckers. Like that was, I worked at that company when I was 14 years old and did accounts payable, right? So I grew up around truckers. I was always exposed to these language patterns. And for my children, it was not different. However, my children know context, right? They know how to read people.
Fantastic.
They're very intuitive and they know the situation. I have never had to talk to a teacher. I have never had to talk to an administrator or anybody at school or anyone's grandmother because my children are very, very respectful, but they also know how to effectively swear.
Well done. Well done. I mean, that could be a course in and of itself right there.
For sure.
Could be. Could
I
be.
love that message, Nicole. I literally just had that discussion with my kids and my wife in the vehicle coming back from a soccer tournament last weekend. We didn't grow up around truckers and stuff. You're going to win the contest, right? If we count how many f bombs we drop in a day, and I don't swear at my kids or just freely do that, but at the end of the day, they're just words, right? And 100 years from now, maybe they don't even mean what they mean to us today, and it's all about really how you're saying something to somebody, not the actual word itself, right? And so, I love hearing another parent corroborate this. Like I'm not on an island, that this is not acceptable. And also, I think it really goes back to your same core message of, being comfortable who you are. You say unapologetic. I also hear confident and knowledgeable about who I am inside then too, right? To be able to be that way. Otherwise you couldn't. And if you can raise up your kids to have that, and maybe they drop an F-bomb once in a while. I mean, come on, let's be honest too. My son, 17, is playing soccer right now. They're warming up, dropping F-bombs for each other. I can't stop that.
Absolutely.
So rather train them on how and where to say it in what way than to chastise them for it, right? Because come on, we've all been there. So anyways, I love that part. Especially the confidence in yourself to be able to project that forward, right? At the end of the day.
Great. It's really great. Well, Nicole, another thing that I noticed that to me, what seemed like a common thread listening to some of your podcasts is you're very, very service minded. You're not out there materialistically because you want to make the most money in the world and have the fastest, best looking car, house, pool, clothing, whatever. It's to serve others. Where did that come from? And I'm sure you're intentional about that. Tell us about that.
Well, I come from a long background of being in the service industry, of course, right? And so for me, I saw a lot of value in that. There was so much value in the human connection that can happen. And when you're a bartender, you see people as their true selves because they loosen up their tie. They talk to you. They tell you the real story behind what happened at work today. Maybe even a lot of times a more real story than they even tell their own wife. Right. And so you get that opportunity to really connect with the raw human visceral experience in a bar. And that was something that I wanted to bring to marketing because when I first came into this industry, it was so fake. Like everything was so like surface level and nobody was really talking about anything real. And it was just this facade where everyone was trying to be better than they were and like presenting this kind of I don't know, cookie cutter version, like a cardboard cutout of themselves, right? But I realized that the reason why we do that is because we don't feel safe. And so the industry doesn't feel safe, so we can't be our true selves. So I thought to myself, instead of, yelling at everybody for not being their true selves, it was like, how can I create an energy and a vibe inside of my programs, inside of my Facebook group, my Instagram, where people actually feel safe to tell the truth? And that really comes from a hospitality kind of background. And I mean, don't get it twisted. Like, I drive a Bentley. I live I live in a 5,000 square foot house. I've made millions of dollars and I have the things that I enjoy. I still wear t-shirts I had in high school. But other than that, I have the things that I enjoy and I do spend my money and I do, give back in lots of different ways. And, have those kind of charitable contributions. I actually am the trustee of a domestic violence advocacy charity. So I do a lot of that kind of work. But ultimately, the backbone of hospitality comes from the energy of helping people to feel safe. I didn't have a great childhood. Aside from the truckers and all of that, I didn't have a great dad. Like, insert all of the daddy issues. And my coach always tells me that I don't have daddy issues. My dad has daughter issues. So, I didn't grow up right? I didn't grow up in a very safe environment. And so I really can empathize with the fact of people not being safe or not feeling safe. I had a lot of, tumultuous things that happened in my childhood. And, even growing up and being an adult, my son's father died when we were 24. My best friend died in a car accident. It's a running theme in my life to not feel safe. And so I have a little heart for that, to help other people to learn how to create safety internally inside of them. And that's a big point of the part of service that I provide, and what I do differently in the market.
It's fabulous. I love that. I love to hear that. There's something that I've heard you refer to in a couple different podcasts, an incident that you had when you realized you were in the womb hearing somebody who you thought was your parents but weren't your parents speak, and it was an aha moment for you. I'd love to hear about that.
This is a crazy one. So I hope you guys are on the crazy train with me today. Guys, so yeah, Jesse, lean in, get your popcorn, let's go. Right. But
do you I don't know if this will pick up on the camera, but I had a buddy give me this. Oh, it's not going to come through. It says, I don't ride the crazy train. I drive it. So I've had this for 20 years.
I like it.
So go ahead, Nicole. You're in a safe space here. Go ahead and share.
Fun fact here, Jesse, when I got married, I walked out to Crazy Train.
There
that
you
was
go.
my down the
aisle. Wow, that's awesome.
So I did some hypnotherapy sessions, right? And so I learned how to do this for myself rather than needing a practitioner. I learned how to activate an alpha wave state in my mind to allow myself to go into past life regression. Okay. And so this is something that's obviously very challenging and something that requires a lot of work to get to this level. And so I've done that work, right? And I was in a hotel room in Northern California. I was taking my husband, it was his birthday, and I took him to, there's a racetrack called Laguna Seca over there. And it was like his best day ever because he got to go drive the race cars for 3 days and do like a race car thing. It was like seriously life-changing for him. I was like, that's great, babe. That's terrifying. I'm not doing that. But he loved it. So I stayed in the hotel room, which was nice, and just having some time to myself and taking a break from the business. And so I was in the bathtub in there, and I dropped into this alpha wave state, and I went into this past life regression where I literally, in the bathtub, so it's not helping, right? But like in the bathtub, feeling this very intense feeling about like being in the womb, like, like the sound of like people talking when you're underwater. So it was like that. And so I dropped into this, and it took me a minute to kind of figure out like the bearings of that, but I felt that feeling of the warmth and like that, like kind of fetal position, if you will. And so like I had figured out, was like, oh, I'm like literally watching myself in the womb right now. And so I assumed that this was my mother's womb. Like, why would I assume anything differently? Right. And so like, I felt that feeling, and I was listening, and like, I could hear words, and there was this conversation being had about money, and it being that there's not enough money, and that, we can't, like, basically the conversation that many people have, right, is that we can't afford this baby. We're not going to have enough money. How are we going to support them? Like that genuine conversation that many parents have. And so I was hearing this, and in this experience, I remembered, which sounds crazy, but I remembered being aborted. I remembered the pain of being ripped out and like how it felt physically, but also remembering like the separation that like almost like a schism that it caused. And like it was this very clear, like down the left side of my body, like down my eye, like I get like from my eyes straight down the left side of my body, this blue, like electric blue, like like lightning bolt kind of thing of like splitting my body. And it was so vivid and very scary, right? So very vivid, very scary, having this feeling of like remembering this. But then obviously as coming out of this, I was realizing like, I wasn't aborted. I'm here, right? So then that's when I realized that I was in a past life of this. And this changed my entire dynamic, my entire perspective with my own mother. Because with my mom, I've kind of always had this running story that I'm not wanted, right? Like it's just, I'm
Mhm.
unwanted. And like, there's not really a lot of like, my mom wouldn't tell you that. My mom always wanted children. She was one of those girls like writing her 6 kids' names on her notebook, right? That wasn't me. She was doing all those things. She always wanted children, and I was very wanted by her. So it was very painful for her to hear me say, I feel like you don't want me, right? And so this story changed everything, this perspective shift, because I realized that it wasn't about my mom, it was about some other timeline. And actually,
Wow.
since you've listened to that podcast, Sue, I've had another experience with this same memory, where it dropped in and I figured out who that person is, like who my parents were in that vision. And it's somebody that's been in my life now who has been causing a lot of turmoil and a lot of chaos in my life that I've since removed after having this vision and this clarity of realizing that this is like a soul contract that's continued to play out over multiple lifetimes. And I get to interrupt that pattern now that I have this clarity
Wow.
of vision.
Wow. It's really wild. But it's helped you. Good for you for having the insight and the knowledge and the awareness and figuring out somebody to be removed. Not everybody around us is good for us.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Sue, did you have another? I want to. I had a few questions, Nicole, and I do want to frame it up. We talked a little bit on the front side about some of this mindset and for business owners. This is fascinating, and I want to translate it over. But Sue, I know you definitely wanted to ask Nicole a bunch of questions and really dig into some stuff. I don't want to cut this train of thought off. Did you have anything else there? Or?
Um, I have one other question that, well, one, I guess two parts question. One is, who do you define your target audience as? I mean, I think you have a very definite target audience, but who do you define them as, and how do you find slash attract them? And for that part, you've clearly chosen social over the website route. Why is that, and how did you get there? And of course, we're in the website business, not social, so I'm extra curious about that.
I always find it very interesting in the SEO spectrum that you guys view this as something that's separate, because I don't. As for this of like understanding that a website is only as good as the traffic that's driven to it, right? We all know this. Okay, you can have the coolest website in the world, but if no one sees it, doesn't matter. So social is just a tool that enhances what already exists within the website development space, right? Is that social media actually made websites more legit because it gave people a place to drive traffic from that was organically built by someone else. It was the highest and best thing that could ever happen for a website. And so one of the things that I definitely see happening in the SEO world is this segregation where there's a lot of like, pushing away of social media. And like, there's kind of this thing about like Facebook ads being like the worst thing ever. And like, there's a lot of separation that I think really inhibits the SEO world, because ultimately, if you knew how to drive traffic from social media to your website, I mean, why not create another revenue stream, right? Why not create
Mhm.
another chain in there? And so that's something that like I made a choice to use social simply because I'm good at it, right? We should all play to our strengths. And you know what I'm not good at? Coding. So I tried to build a WordPress website when I first started. And I will tell you, I still have that WordPress website and it still has the template on it because I don't know how to do it. The learning curve was really slow, whereas social media was very, very fast. And with social media, I had instant contact to billions
Right.
of people, right, with no limitations, and I didn't have to spend any money to do it. Social media is free and it is fast and it is easy. And so there's a much slower learning curve when you're having to learn how to build out SEO, how to understand keyword optimization, where the traffic magically comes from, like how to get on, page one and all of that. Like that was a lot of things to learn, and it was a lot easier to learn social media and a lot faster. And so I see this as something that kind of works in tandem to be able to create that optimization strategy. And in that target market delineation, my first coach, who's an SEO guy, by the way. Okay. So shout out to Dino Gomez, right? He's an SEO guy that went Facebook ad and, got a lot of hate for it. But I actually learned about all of this stuff from the perspective of Facebook ads first, because I was on social media long before this business came up and I fell into a funnel long before I knew what a funnel was. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even realize I was on a sales call. Just here I was buying things, right? It's like magic. And I bought this course. Okay, mind you guys, I have not touched a computer since high school. I wrote my first 30,000 words of my novel on my phone. Okay, like I'm not a techie person, and so I bought this course, which required me to split it on credit cards and do all sorts of creative things and borrow money to get in. And a $3,000 investment was crazy at the time. I didn't have a job. I'd just been fired. Like, what was I doing? But right. I bought this Facebook ads course, and I did all 90 modules in 6 weeks, got it all set up, and had 10 high ticket paying clients overnight with $20,000 in recurring revenue. And then I needed to give them Facebook ads. And guys, I'm not good at Facebook ads. I had no idea what I was doing. So I was constantly in this group asking for help of like, can somebody please put the pixel on my landing page? Because I don't know what I'm doing. Right. And I kind of made a splash in that space, because everyone was like, how are you getting all these clients? You clearly don't know what you're doing. How are you getting clients? And so Dino grabbed me and he was like, Nicole, like, tell me a little bit about this strategy. And I was like, okay. So I talked to him. I told him what I was doing. I didn't know it was a strategy. I was just doing what was smart. And then he said, can you teach this to other people? And I was like, absolutely. He was like, how about that guy that put the pixel on your page? Can you help him? And I was like, sure. And so Ray and I got on a phone call and I taught him how to do social media, and he got clients. And then that's when Dino scooped me up and said, hey, you need to stop doing Facebook ads because you're terrible at them. And you need to come over here and you need to coach this. You need to build a course for this. And I said, okay. And so I really wanted to work with men. You want to know why? Because I like men. And because, I love being a bartender, and little old men make me happy in my soul. I love listening to their stories. Tell me the fish story again. I want to hear how much bigger it is this time. Right? I love old men. That's who I wanted to work with. And Dino looked me square in the eye and said, Nicole, do you want to be right or do you want to be successful? And I said, well, both. And he said, you can't. You have to choose. And I said, okay, I'm going to listen to you. You are making money. I am not. I will listen to you. And he said, you will niche down to women because you will relate to women so much better. And he was so incredibly right. I was so resistant to working with women. I didn't have great connections with women. I had lots of like backstabby stories with women. But that was part of that healing journey. And I got to tell you, knowing what I know now, Sue, I know that if I would have tried to serve men first, I never would have built this business, because I would have had to overcome an impossible barrier to entry of trying to prove myself worthy to work with men. Whereas now I've made millions of dollars. Men just listen to me now. It's weird, right? But that would not have happened the first time around. And so my target market is women. But a funny thing has happened, right? Is that now that I have this platform, now that I have this success, I'm working with more and more men, because men are reaching out to me, asking me, how do I learn to sell to women?
Interesting.
It all comes full circle.
Very interesting.
I'd like to expand on that a little. Sue and I were just talking earlier, and we use this example all the time. I don't know, Nicole. Bentley doesn't make a version of this, but there's a Ford Flex. It's like a big boxy station wagon looking vehicle, right? My wife and I had one, and super polarizing vehicle. It's the only vehicle I've had. I don't have a Bentley yet. So I will say at this point, the only vehicle I've had where I pull up to the gas station and people ask you about it, right? Just curious. Yeah. And it looks like a toaster, right? Just big square, super functional, but not sexy at all. But it's a great example for identifying your target audience, right? Who you're pandering to. And we always say it's a good example of the third rule. They built this vehicle for people that would love it. There's a third of people that completely hate it, would never even touch it. They don't care. They didn't make it for them. And then you got a third that's indifferent. And it's like, great, if they buy it, cool. But we're making this for the third that really love everything about it. And they're going to be champions for it, advocates for it, etc. Kind of did a pivot there for yourself and really through what's you, putting it out there, back to having the confidence and knowing what your message is, point that to the right audience, not worrying about the other people who aren't going to vibe on it. success comes your way. Talking about the mindset and like, maybe could you talk us through how everybody listening, business owners, marketing managers, people thinking that they're getting SEO tips here on this episode, uh, how can you take that kind of mindset, that delineation, right? That avatar building, however you want to phrase it up. How can they take that for their business and start to transform what they do to really vibe on something? Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I want to just add, like, what people ask me when they see me in the Bentley at the gas station.
Yeah.
They ask me what my husband does.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
And the
Yeah,
expletive ensue at that point, or
it's the best
Right.
conversation starter that there ever could be,
I
right?
bet.
It's how you sell. Is that people ask you a question, and the question is, how did you do that? Right? When you can create results that are so visceral and show them to other people, they ask you the natural question. I mean, you lose 40 pounds, right? How did you do that? You get a pony. How did you do that? Whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
People ask you the question, how did you do that? And so even the question, what does your husband do, is essentially, how did you do that? Right? And so that opens up that conversation. And so when you're willing to understand that your target market, your avatar, or whatever it is really all people who are in the right mind frame at the right time, you stop focusing on things like women 35 to 45 because that doesn't matter. What matters is their intention of desire. What is it that they want? And when you can understand what people want, you guys saw that movie with Helen Hunt, right? Like what women want. When you can
Right.
understand what other people want, you will forever be able to turn that into money. I can sell anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You want me to sell the hat? It doesn't matter. I can sell anything because I can understand the positioning of what people desire and understand that that is way more important than how old someone is or what gender they are claiming to be today. Those things are completely irrelevant. The only thing that ever mattered in target demographics is, what does somebody desire? Once you can really understand that and reflect it back to someone, you will always be able to sell.
Smart. Yeah, we make decisions very selfishly, right? Everything we do is all about us at the end of the day, and that really brings it back home to that core point. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Everything else. Um, Super interesting point. I'm going to scrap my notebook of avatar building I've been doing too. It's completely useless now at this point, but um, and I think that can give you as a marketer confidence in what does this thing truly do, or what do we truly provide, right? And that core message. And yeah, you got to point it at somebody, right? But I think to your point, those people will come to you. What I really love about your message is the gravity, right? Or I don't know if you have a better word for it, or if you want to explain that the mindset. And once you get yourself into that position, I don't want to say it's magic. People just come flocking to you, but how does that work? Or how would you describe that to people? You've had the success that pretty much everybody here is listening or watching wants. How does this manifest? How does that translate?
I mean,
Quick,
it's
quick,
really becoming,
short version, right? So,
yeah, it's really becoming very clear, and I think that people are waiting for clarity. Like, you're waiting for clarity to come and knock on your door today and say, here's your check, we're clear now, right? And that's not how clarity actually works. Clarity is a choice. Just like you decide to become a different person, you choose to have clarity on the thing that you do know. And when you choose to focus on clarity, that clarity expands. The problem is that most people focus on what they don't know. They focus on, I don't know what's going to happen next, or I have to have all of the answers before I take any steps forward. And that stops you from making any progress to create any success. And so when you can focus on what you do know and really feel into that knowing, right? Of like, okay, you know how to do SEO. Okay, you know how to do that. So how does that best serve other people? How can you get really clear on how you as a human, and you as a human plus this skill set, best serve other people who want the results that SEO provides? SEO, yes, will get you to number one in Google and all of those things, but that's actually the wrong result to focus on for 99% of the audience. They don't want to be number one on Google. What they want is more clients. And once you can understand what their true driver is, which is they want more clients, so that what? Okay, like I think of like, let's just use any local plumber. Okay, So if you know any local plumbers, you know they don't want more clients. Okay, they don't. They're not interested in more clients. They hate clients, absolutely hate them. Okay,
Right.
they don't really want more clients. What they want is their wife to be happy. They want to feel like a successful man who's providing for their wife, who gets whatever she wants. That's the status that they're seeking to obtain. So when you understand that, you can create a narrative for this plumber, whether you're on a sales call or whether you're writing an email. You can create that narrative of saying, hey, Jim, all plumbers are named Jim, right? Hey, Mario and Luigi, do you really want Princess Peach to be happy when you come home every day? Do you want to be able to take her on that vacation? Do you want to be able to give your kids the life that your parents never gave you? Because here's the thing, I have this magic tool in SEO that's going to help you, and you don't need to understand it. That's going to be my job. But I'm basically going to make it so that you have calls coming out the ears, so many, in fact, that you're going to be able to choose which clients you show up to while still being able to take your wife on vacation. You're going to be able to build your business out so well that you're going to be able to replace yourself in this equation, so that your job is just going to be to pick out which houses somebody else goes to, so that you're not having to crawl under the house anymore. How does that sound, Luigi? Would you like to replace the way your life currently looks with this image instead? Because SEO is a tool that you may not have thought of to get there, but it's not going to just be some pop and fizzle strategy like you're going to see on social media. This is going to be something that's sustainable and long lasting for the entirety of your business, so that you can build a legacy. And so if your kid grows up and wants to take over that business, you're not just handing him a bunch of wrenches and a bunch of problems. You're handing him a legacy building, aligned business that's going to produce money for him and his family, so that your grandkids are going to be able to do whatever they want to do too, and get to go on those vacations. That's what SEO is for, not getting to the top of Google.
Yeah, you can sell anything. I think you're right. That's proof right there. And also the power of just the knowledge that you're dropping there. Like it's not that benefit or that feature that you're selling from your tangible product or service, right? It's the question behind the question, or the motivation inside the actual person making the decision, right? Very powerful insight there, Nicole. I got a question for you. When you were younger, did you have a projection of yourself at this age? Did you like, I'm going to be driving a Bentley? Hell yeah, I am. Where did you think you were going to be, and where do you think you're going from here? Even like expanding on it, what's been your vision of yourself?
The Bentley wasn't on my vision board. I don't care about cars. My husband loves cars. The Bentley was his idea, and it's real funny because, like, he showed me like a million cars. He was like, "Look at this one. Look at this one. Do you like this one? Do you like this?" I'm like, "I don't like cars. Just leave me alone. Like, I don't want to buy anything. Just leave me alone." And then he showed me the Bentley, and I was like, "That's the one I like. It's the best one." And he was like, "This is the one you like?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "This one's $250,000." I was like, "Well, then I guess you shouldn't have asked. I don't know what you want."
Okay, so I'm sorry.
So, it was something where, like, I definitely didn't see like money, right? Like, it wasn't this thing of like the drive of money, because I mean, even now it's like the money doesn't change my life today. Like, I can close a $10,000 client, a $50,000 client today, and nothing in my life is going to change, right? Like, I have the house that I want, I have the Bentley, I have my kids, I get to eat the food I want, I'm going to wear this and my husband's t-shirt. Nothing's going to change with the money. But what I did see for myself was endless creation. I love to paint. I've always liked unicorns. I was actually published when I was a kindergartner for a unicorn poem.
Oh wow!
That's fabulous.
Yeah, so
I'd love to see that poem.
I'll have to ask my mom to go get it for us.
Please, please.
But I endlessly love to create. I'm a creative person. I like to build things. If you come to any of my virtual events or my in-person events, they're very creatively driven. And this is something where it's like, I like to build experiences for people. And that's what it is now, and that's what it will be in the future. That's just that these experiences with a lot of money behind them get a lot bigger and for a lot more people. I mean, one of the things that I'm working on right now, we're doing Wonder Camp, right? So Wonder Camp is this concept where everybody comes to, I'm in Reno, Nevada, guys, but Lake Tahoe, which is pretty much in my backyard at my house, right? So coming up to Lake Tahoe, where I teach you how to do sales strategies. I teach you how to build out a sales system that works really well for you. But we're doing that under the stars in these cute little cabins, and we are going to do a different theme for it every single year and do some of the mindset practices that I do at the lake all the time. And the decor and the imagery and building out crazy funnels that everyone tells me won't work, right? And getting to build on that each year is like, this is our first year of doing it, but next year we're going to do it a little bit bigger, a little bit better, right? And then that third year, we're really looking to build in that trade show element where we're going to have speakers and do all these extra things and like build and elevate to having 10,000 people come to this event and really expanding from that place. I love to create. And that is something that has always been, little kid Nicole is loving the fact that I get to build out funnels with unicorns and different themes. This first year of Wonder Camp, we're doing the Addams Family theme, right? So it's super fun. And that's the thing that keeps driving me is like, I have a new idea every day and I want to see it come to life.
It's not work when you love what you do, right?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like work to me at all. Anything that does feel like work, I just outsource.
It's good. That's the true meaning of success, isn't it? Outsource all the things you don't love.
Hey everyone, just a quick message about our free SEO audit tool on localseotactics.com, and we'll get right back to the show. If you haven't taken advantage of it yet, go on out to localseotactics.com/free SEO audit, or look for the yellow button up in the top right corner, click that. And it's going to take just a couple seconds. You enter in the page that you want to optimize, what you're looking for the audit to score against. Enter in that page, enter in the keyword you're looking to get optimized for, and enter in your email address, click the button, and it's going to take you a few seconds, and then it's going to send you off a PDF report via email. It's a great report. It's going to kind of give you an overall score of some vital SEO areas for that page and for your website at large, even though it's auditing this page. That's going to tell you some of the good things that are happening, some of the bad things that are happening too, and give you basically a checklist of some things that you need to shore up and what you can do to improve your SEO for that page, for that keyword that you're auditing. Now you can use this as many times as you want. You can do multiple keywords, multiple pages, multiple keywords on the same page. You can even use this to check against your competitors, right? If you want to do a little reverse engineering, see how they're scoring for a certain keyword, what they may be doing good that you're not, and some things to improve there. So lots of different ways to use it, completely free. Again, go on to localseotactics.com/free SEO audit, or look for the yellow button in the top right corner of the website. Nicole, hearing you say these things too, I think a lot of times, at least my own personal observations in life, people that are creative, empathetic, maybe having some tumultuous background, it's those always come together, it seems, for me, at least for people when they have success with all that, right? And whether that's a byproduct or just the journey you're on, I could tell as soon as you started talking that you were very creative, right? You're smart, you're in touch with emotions for yourself, and then that perception to pick it up on others, and then translate it here to like you're talking for not building an avatar, right? But just really understanding who you're talking to and selling things. And again, back to mindset. If we could transition a little bit, I know when I saw you at the presentation in Arizona, like we talked earlier, a big, powerful part of your presentation was really the mindset, money mindset, attraction mindset, being receptive to these things. And we went through some exercises. We're not going to have time on the show for everybody here today to go through them, but it was awesome having the room of, a couple hundred people kind of all doing this together. It's the only time everybody shut up for the whole conference, right? You could hear a pin drop when you're up there talking. And everybody after was just a buzz. Like, that made so much sense. It resonated so well. Would you take us down that path a little bit for everybody listening and watching? Because this stuff ain't just going to come because you do some formula. I mean, first you got to be willing to receive it, which sounds kind of funny, right? If you're not in that mindset, but take us down that road a little bit, Nicole, and explain that to everybody, if you could.
I was so nervous, Jesse, to do that delivery there because I did not know if people were going to play along with me, right? Like, right. I definitely had the moment where I was like, do I or do I not? Like, do I not go down this rabbit hole to do this very specific mindset exercise? Because I asked you guys to do something that requires a lot of vulnerability, and like asking you guys to stand up in front of all of your colleagues. Now, I know I didn't know anybody there really except for Michael Rayburn, but like everybody else knew each other there. And so it can be very uncomfortable to do some very unconventional things, especially in front of a group of your peers when you're trying to position yourself as an authority, right? And so I was asking everybody to stand up and put their hands in certain positions and close their eyes and go through this exercise. And I was astounded that every single person in that room stood up and did this with me. It blew my mind. And full transparency as always, that was my first live speaking gig in this industry. Like, I've done lots of bartender stuff, right? But that was my first live speaking gig in as a coach. And so I was very nervous for that. And getting into this space and watching the transformations that happened and watching the people come up to me afterwards and like share their stories and share, what the experience was like for them in that moment was so powerful for me. And getting to have that shift and becoming the kind of person that could do this in front of a room of very smart people and who I didn't know and had no authority with, right?
Yeah.
Mindset is an incredibly powerful tool because it teaches you how to drop in to your body and get out of this energy of the kind of hamster wheel that happens in the vacuum that creates in our minds. And as we drop into our body and we connect with our emotions, this is the frequency of allowing yourself to receive information, allowing yourself to receive guidance and support and money. And I really do this from a different kind of context than most women. Most of like my, contemporaries of my female coaching kind of ilk that talk about mindset really do this from a space of what they call the woo, right? It's like, it's very woo, it's very witchy, it's very, just magic, right? And like, not to say that I don't incorporate that, I do, but I actually do this from a very logical place based on stoicism. The entire premise of money mindset in the way that I teach it is to create the power of neutrality. Now, neutrality is not the absence of feeling. It's actually all feeling at the same time to create that water hits level kind of feel inside of your body. And so when you're coming from a place of neutrality, you can choose how you want to think and feel next. So it's the ultimate choice kind of power. And so when you can set your frequency in alignment with neutrality, it's understanding everything serves in one way and limits in another. Everything. All of the tumultuous things that I went through in my life, all of those pieces, it all happened so that I could become the person that I am today. There was a serve, there was a limit. And having that neutrality around all things in your life, instead of avoiding, instead of shutting it off, which is what I see a lot in the SEO world, right? It's just people just shutting off their emotions. Allowing yourself to fully feel these feelings and connect with yourself at a deeper level allows the power of neutrality. Now, let me tell you the magic of this is that neutrality is the same frequency as money. So remember what I said about clarity, right? Is that when we focus on clarity, clarity expands. Anything that you focus on invites more of the same. If you go out for a drive today and you think about white cars, you see more white cars on the road, right? Because you're drawing your attention to it. This is the same. When you align with the power of the frequency of neutrality, money comes to you effortlessly, and you allow that free flow of money because you are in alignment with the same frequency that money carries. Money is neither good nor bad. It is inherently neutral because money in the hands of good people does good things. Money in the hands of not good people does not good things. And so when you can create that energetic alignment and become a match for money, your whole life changes. This is how I was able to elevate. This is how I was able to make $3 million in 3 years as a fired bartender, right? Stepping into that realm, it's the power of neutralizing your feelings by feeling them more fully. That's really what does it.
Nicole, do you listen to 432 megahertz?
No. Should I?
Yeah, it's the vibration of repelling negative energy, manifesting what you want.
Interesting.
Just Google it on YouTube, 432 MHZ. You'll get a lot of choices.
Okay.
And when you're going through that, I'm fascinated by all this stuff. And I think it's way more important and tangible than people give it credit to. Just because you're tuned out of it doesn't mean it's not real. And it really hit home for me when you were describing a little bit more in detail, the neutrality and money, and just that it's inert. It's not a thing, right? And because in my mind, as you're going through this, I'm like, well, money, I'm like a dollar bill. Is it coin? Is it electronic? And I'm trying to like make it tangible, right, as a thing, but it's not. It's a currency. It's neutral. And yeah, that was pretty eye opening for me, and I think everybody else too. And just doesn't matter how hard you work, how many hours you put in that day, or how if you grind it more than the other gal or the other guy, it's where you're at and what you're trying to do in your mindset. Really, at the end of the day, is first. That's what I took away from it, at least. So, and why I was excited to get you on to spread this to everybody else that's listening. So.
Yeah, ultimately, it's not just that you do something, right? It's who you're being while you do it. Like if you're the kind of person that's, building out a website and you're building a website from I hate this and I'm so sick of this and this is so stressful and I'm never going to get it right and like I hate this client, that website's not going to be as good as you're building it from the energy of like, this is incredible. I'm learning so many new things and this is working in all sorts of different ways and I can't wait to show this to my client. Of course, the second one is going to produce better results. It's not just that you do something. It's who you're being while you do it.
Yeah. There's a book. I don't know if you've read it. It's As a Man Thinketh. Super short book, but it's been out for forever and a day. And it's for anybody watching and listening to, if you want something along the same lines, super quick read. I try to read it very often. It's the same. You just align your thoughts. Your actions will follow. I mean, it all starts with that mindset, really, which is a core part of your message, Nicole. And success can come after that if you want it to. Anything else you want to add, Nicole, before we wrap it up here for everybody?
I mean, it's really understanding, you guys, like you can make as much money as you want. And the systems and the processes that come behind that revenue, that's a skill set, of course, right? Becoming the kind of person who can attract this many clients, who can elevate your prices, who can charge, and from that place of energetic alignment, knowing that your prices are there to serve people. When people pay, they pay attention, right? When you can get into that frequency and build systems behind yourself, this is how you effectively scale. This is what it takes to build out a very successful agency. It's what it takes to get yourself into that realm of operating from a different frequency where you're running an agency that's not running you, and being able to elevate yourself into that space. Yes, you need systems and processes, but that starts with you building systems and processes inside of your own thoughts, your own body first. If your supercomputer is not in alignment, don't expect any of the computers that you program to be effective either, right? It all starts internally with inside of you.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Totally.
Sue, did you have any questions?
Fantastic.
Anything else for Nicole before we wrap it up?
I think it's what you say is fabulous, and I can see why you have a huge following, rightfully so.
Hey, Nicole, again, quick for everybody. You want to just rattle off if they're looking to reach out, contact you, engage with you. How should they do that?
You guys can jump into my funnel world and get onto my email list, do all of the things, and pick apart all the reasons why my funnel shouldn't work at nonstopnotifications.com. This will give you access to my 100 wonderful ways to get more and better clients using social media, organic social selling strategies. And please come join the Facebook group. It's called Unicorn Client Attraction Secrets for High Vibe Wonder Women. And in my world, Wonder Woman is a mindset. It's not a gender bias. So everyone is welcome. There's plenty of dudes in there, right? There's plenty of guys in there. So come play. And if you want to be a little bit adventurous and you want to hear what the other side of my language pattern sounds like, you can go check out my podcast. It's called Real Unicorns Don't Wear Pants.
And they do swear. In addition to that. So, right. Nicole, thanks for coming on. I know you're super busy and very grateful for you to take the time out of your day to give this message to all of our audience and everybody watching. And for us too, I know Sue and I were both looking forward to talking with you and just having this conversation, regardless of who else is listening to this at the same time. So appreciate you coming on, and for everybody listening and watching, hopefully you pulled some great information out of this. Find Nicole, engage with her, and hopefully some good things are going to come your way. Until we talk again, Nicole, appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks so much for having me, you guys.
All right, that was Nicole. Hope you all enjoyed that. Go back to localseotactics.com. Check out the show page. We're going to have links so you can follow up with Nicole, reach out to her if you want to see more about her programs, about her teachings, and what she has to offer. Check it out. I really think you're going to love it. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you appreciate this interview. We'll catch you on the next one, everybody. Take care.